This weekend, unplug. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a successful motivational speaker and trusted life coach, Nancy knows how you can live the life you want regardless of the challenges you face. Although she's legally blind, Nancy's mission is to inspire others to overcome obstacles and live life full out. Call in at 800-333-0001 to ask Nancy for advice on topics such as relationships, finances, business, health, and more. Just call 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and today we're going to be talking about body image. You know, we all have those times where we're like, oh, I want to lose a couple pounds, or I just wish I was taller, or in some cases, I wish I was a different gender. And later on today, we're going to be talking to our inspirational guest, Decker Moss, who indeed is a transgender advocate and was a female and transitioned to being a male. It's a very inspiring yet educational story for all of us to hear, so stay tuned on that. We're also going to be taking your calls. The number to call in is 800-333-0001, 800-333-0001. And we always like to hear from you. So throughout today's show, if something hits you and it inspires you or makes you nervous or in any way stimulates a conversation for yourself that you'd like to have, feel free to reach out to us. Our email address is connect@livingfullout.com. Again, connect@livingfullout.com. Also, we're always looking for more inspirational guests. We cherish our guests because obviously you guys step up to be role models for others and share your story, and we'd like to hear from you at that same email, connect@livingfullout.com. Lastly, a lot of times people get insights, get inspired, but when the show's over, they want to go back and listen. So you can always go back to livingfullout.com and check out the show, listen to the recordings or any of our past shows by going to our radio show page. So that's all the goodies I have for you there. And let's jump into the show. So again, we're talking about body image. So for everybody that's going to relate to something different, again, it might be gender differences, it might be weight, it might be height, it might be any way in which your body makes you feel. Now, not always does body image translate to a negative feeling. Sometimes it's a positive feeling. You know, we have that moment in time when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we have that swagger and we're doing that strut. That's positive body image. When we're uncertain or insecure or we don't like the way we look, that would be in the realm of negative body image. So we want to explore today where you are in terms of the relationship that you have with your body. Again, we're going to be taking calls. In fact, we're going to go to the line now. Welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
What's going on today?
Well, I just figured out that my boyfriend of 2 years actually cheated on me, and I was wondering if I should break things off with him or try to make things work.
I have been there. I too had a boyfriend one time that cheated on me. It's a tough place to be. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's a tough place to be. So I want you to know that I'm with you. Here's the thing. How long have you been dating him?
Just over 2 years now.
About 2 years?
Yeah.
Consider your life as a story, okay? You're the main character of your story. Sometimes people are going to come into our lives and they're going to be there from the beginning of the book to the end. Sometimes they're only in our lives for certain chapters. So you have to decide whether or not you feel like maybe he's a ongoing character or maybe he's only in a couple chapters of your life. And how you will know that is a couple of things. Number one, do you feel that you could authentically trust him going forward? Trust is where everything starts, whether it's a friendship, a romantic relationship, a business partnership. If you don't think you can trust him, it's going to be a really long life because you're constantly going to be on eggshells. You're constantly going to be looking over your shoulder. And at the end of the day, you want to feel free. You want to feel like, like you did in the beginning, those butterflies, excited to see that person. So that's one thing to consider. Second thing is, does he support where you're going in your life? And that's one that you might need to take a couple days to a couple weeks to think about, because, sometimes we date people in the moment that kind of satisfy our current needs. But, is he someone that has your same future goals in mind? That might be traveling, that might be marriage and family, that might be religious or spiritual goals. So,
Yeah.
Remember that although he's the one that had the affair, you're the one in control of your life. And sometimes when people have affairs, it's their own insecurities. It's their own weaknesses within themselves that allow them to kind of succumb to that, okay? It has nothing to do with you. You're actually perhaps the stronger one out of the two of you, okay?
Yeah.
And you might even go, yeah, I see that. So you have to disconnect the two. And so I think you just have to explore for you, is this person a ongoing character in my story, or is he only someone meant to be in a couple of chapters? They were good chapters, but now it ends. Is he someone that supports who I want to be in the future and someone I can grow with? And then in some ways, is he strong enough for you to grow with?
Okay. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask that you share with all of us those intimate details now, because I think you kind of have to sort that out. But think about those questions and then trust your gut. Lastly, always trust your instincts, trust your gut. They will not fail you. Okay?
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good day. Thank you.
You too.
Oh, cheating, that is a tough one. When I was there, it was such a long 6 months before I opened my heart again and found new love. So for everybody listening who's been cheated on, new love is possible. You just got to get through the fire of the disappointment and the frustration and the sadness. We're going to go back to the phone lines again. Welcome to the Living Full Out Show. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi, thank you. Hi. How can I help you today?
I have a question about staying confident in your major.
Okay, so tell me more. What's your major?
So my major is music, composition, and my question is just when you're kind of in the midst of so many talented people at a school or in your program, how do you stay confident?
Great question. You want to always remember why did you choose music? Why did you choose it?
About it.
Aha.
Because it's what I want to do with my life. Yeah.
Passion, right? Passion. That's where it starts. Now, you could say that all the other people have passion too, right? That's possible. It's possible. But there's only one you. Everybody who is in your major, everybody in your class, you have to think about in life, are you going to consider yourself as a small fish in a big pond, or a big, beautiful music composer in a small pond? And I always go for the big fish in a small pond theory, okay? Because there's no one like you. No one is going to can hear music, interpret music like you. You're an original. We may have similarities with other people. We may be in agreement or even disagreement, but the way that you interpret how you are going to come out of this major is going to be unique to you. And what you want to consider as you go along is, what is your unique selling proposition? When you get out of your major, what will make you different? What will separate you? Have you thought about that?
I'm kind of in the process of thinking about that, yeah.
Okay. And that's a journey in itself, right? So, but think about, as you go through school, as you go through your major, where do you get the most accolades? Where do you get the best grades? Where do you feel the most in the zone, where you're the happiest? Like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe this is an assignment. I love it so much. That's the lane that you want to be in. That's where you want to spend most of your time. And then you want to consider what you enjoy the most and think about, how can I make a career out of this? What professions, what avenues of music can I do this in and actually get paid for it?
Huh.
Okay. And that's when it gets really exciting, because you may not know about those different options now, but the more you go down the line and you investigate what you really are fired up about. And then when you look further at, what profession or options you have within the music industry as a composer or whatnot, what options you have, now it's exciting because then you can go on to perhaps shadow other people that are in that same role, reach out to them via email or phone and ask them how they got there, what connections do you need to make it to where they are. Just take control of your life. Don't let the competition take control of you.
Oh, okay.
And I think you'll be great. I'll be seeing your name in lights shortly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling in. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a
You're
good one.
welcome. Thank you. The great thing about this show is you can call in about any questions because we're all about getting motivated. We're all about living life full out. Obviously, today with our next guest, Decker Moss, coming up shortly, we're talking about body image. We're talking about how we see ourselves, how we can live a full life and feel that we're tapping into our most authentic self. That's what it's about. But really, when we consider our last two callers and the questions they had, that's all encompassing, right? We want to be thriving in our relationships. We want to pick partners and people that we can invest in that will also in return give us investment back emotionally, physically, and beyond. Same goes with picking a major or picking a job. You want to be thriving in that as well. So all great questions. And so coming up shortly, again, we're going to be having Decker Moss, who is going to be talking about his transition. He was a twin with a sister. He was a female at the time as well, and they were twin girls. But then he made the decision over 4 decades to actually become a male. And the process that he took and the care in deciding to make that transition and why he did. So stay with us. You don't want to miss that. Again, I'm Nancy Solari. This is the Living Full Out Show, and we'll be right back with Decker Moss.
Dad, this is fun. I didn't think I liked kayaking.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I think it's time to head back in.
Okay. Can we come back?
Sure.
Tomorrow?
Let's check with Mom. Hey, be careful getting out of the boat.
It's a kayak, Dad.
I'm gonna return the kayak. Just make sure you have everything.
Yep. Can we walk home?
How about a taxi? 233 North Maple, please.
It's a short fare from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Also, find fun activities to do like boating and biking or camping and hiking, plus much more. It's all right in your naturehood.
Best day ever.
A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Chances are there'll never be an emergency ever again. But just in case, let's talk about a plan.
Okay.
Who is going to grab the go bag?
What's a go bag? It is a bag we do not have that is filled with things we really, really need in an emergency.
Guess we won't have to worry about it then.
Well, this is great. I am so glad that we don't have a plan.
I know.
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency, who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You take your 6-year-old to the playground. You watch her go down the slide, then run over to the swings. Another mother strikes up a conversation. You take your eye off your daughter for just a few seconds. You look back at the swings. And she's gone. Your heart drops into your stomach. You jump up, your eyes searching. You cry out her name.
Lily? Lily?
From the top of the slide, you hear a voice.
Mommy, watch me!
Every parent knows that feeling. Imagine if she were actually abducted. Go to wirelessamber-alerts.org. Sign up for free Amber Alerts on your cell phone. When an Amber Alert is issued in the areas you've chosen, you'll receive a free text message. If you spot the vehicle, the suspect, or the child described in the alert, call 911. Sign up today at wirelessamber-alerts.org. A child is calling for help. This message brought to you by the Wireless Foundation, the U.S. Department of Justice, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. A professional motivational speaker, Nancy can help you overcome obstacles and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about body image. And as I promised, we have a very special guest coming up, Decker Moss, who was actually a twin. He had a twin sister, but at the time he was also a girl. He had two twin girls when they grew up together. But over the course of 4 decades, he made the decision to become a man. And that was due to the fact that he always felt as though he enjoyed what boys wanted to do, what men wanted to do, and made that decision. And I'm not going to share more about his story because he tells it the best, but I want to invite and welcome everybody to Decker Moss. Decker, hi.
Hey, Nancy.
Hi. You know, I was thinking about you a lot this morning before the show. And when I think of you, courage is one of the words that comes up because I love how much you have just unfolded your life over the years in such an honest way. And I think sometimes we always forget in life that no one has the answers. We're feeling it through. It's a journey. It's a walk. And you know, I want to take our audience on that journey with you. So if we can kind of take a couple steps back, a couple decades back, obviously you grew up with your twin sister and it was the two of you. You were two girls at the time. But share with us in the early years, like around 5, I think you were telling me about just how you started to notice that you didn't want to do what girls did.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and I was really a pretty typical happy kid. You know, we had a brick house and we lived on a tree-lined street, and we were sort of, you know, just middle-class neighborhood. And I was like most kids. You know, when I was 5, I had a lot of energy. I loved to ride my bike and play sports, and really anything that was outdoors that involved a ball or a bat or a bike, I was pretty much into it. And I had my twin sister, and she and I would always do stuff together. We're always doing the same stuff. I had this playmate with me and still do my whole life. You know, she's always been the closest person in my life. But when I was young, I wasn't really, I don't know if I really could put words to it when I was 5 and say, I feel like a boy when I was 5, but I definitely gravitated towards all those things that you would think are typically boy things, you know, that society says what boys like to do or how boys like to play or that type of stuff. So for me, when I was a little kid, I just knew that I liked to play with the boys and do boy things, and I wanted to be in the Boy Scouts, and I wanted to, you know, play hockey. You know, I wanted to do sort of the boy stuff, and that's really all I kind of knew. But I just sort of went through my life and like any normal kid, and just was trying to have fun and enjoy my life.
Well, and that makes sense. And, you know, I think as we get older, we start to find our voice and we start to really vocalize more what we like and don't like. And boy, at 13, you did not like wearing dresses or skirts.
No.
Can you share with us about when you were almost forced to wear a skirt?
Yeah, when my sister and I, when we were still living in St. Louis, it was right before we were going to be going into 6th grade, actually. And the school that we were going to have to go to that was in our district required uniforms, and those uniforms were based on your gender. And the boys wore little shirts and ties, and the girls wore skirts. And I remember finding out from my mom that we were going to have to go to school in a skirt, and I freaked out. Like, I melted down. I begged my mother, please don't make me go to school in a skirt. Like, anything, just please don't make me do this. And I think at the time she didn't really know why I was having such a fit. I'm not sure I could put it into words, but I just knew I didn't want to wear those clothes. To me, it was like I wasn't supposed to be in those clothes, and I was going to be forced to be in this and pushed out into public school.
Well, and you know, it's just so interesting because you're just kind of feeling it in your body. You're feeling this kind of pull when you're 5. You're feeling it at 13. You're not sure what it means. And, there's a heartbreaking story that you shared with me, too, about when you were graduating with your sister and how, even when we graduate from high school or even college, we're so programmed to be gender specific. Can you share with our audience about that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as we know, moving through the world, especially in our society, that there are a lot of times where there are gendered things that you're expected to wear, for instance. And the day we graduated from high school, in our high school, the girls wore white gowns and white caps, and the boys wore blue gowns and blue caps. So that morning we got up, my mom was ironing our white gowns, and I remember thinking, I don't want to wear this. I just didn't want to do this. I didn't want to walk into an auditorium in front of all my friends and family, my whole school, and everyone in the audience, and wearing this giant robe that essentially screamed, hey, I'm a girl. But I did because I'm graduating from high school, so I put on the gown, and cap and gown, and off we went. And it was right before we were about to walk out into the auditorium. So they were announcing the graduating class, and we were all standing in line, and we were waiting. And as we started to file through this door, there was an administrator, and they stopped everyone, and they said, no, you have to go through alternating by gender. So you have to have a boy and then a girl, and then a boy and then a girl, and that's how we're going to file in, single file, into the auditorium. Well, in that moment, I'm standing next to my twin sister, and we panic because now all of a sudden we have to find someone in a blue gown to stand between us. Well, we're trying to find someone. In the meantime, everyone's frantically pairing up and getting ready, and they're starting to go through into the auditorium. Well, we couldn't find a boy to be in between us. We, in fact, had I think it was maybe 30 more girls in our high school graduating class than boys. And so ultimately, you run out of boys. So Jenny got up in front of me, and she started to go through, and I was like, don't go. But the administrator basically sort of ushered her through the door, and off she went, and I had to wait. And so the whole class ended up sort of filing in, and there were about 30 girls left at the end, and we all walked in sort of in this white cloud, and I sat in the back of the graduating class and didn't get to graduate with my twin sister. I didn't get to go up and get my diploma with her. I didn't get to sit next to her. So essentially I was segregated and forced to have that experience purely based on the color of clothing that I was wearing, which is based on my biological sex.
That day must have just boiled in you like none other. I can only imagine.
It did.
I can only imagine.
That was 1987. So, we're talking 30 years ago, and I remember vividly that day.
Yeah, well, I'm with you. I'm angry for you about that day because that honestly, that it's just not right. Just not right. But here's the thing. As you went along, during this time, let's just say in the world of dating, right? If you went on dates, you were a female and you were dating men. But at what point did that switch for you? Was it around your 30s where you really started to kind of challenge your identity a little bit in who you were attracted to or what you felt? Can you share with us about that?
Yeah. So when you're talking about sexual orientation, right? So who you're attracted to, romantically or physically or emotionally, I didn't really date anybody until I got into college. And then when I got into college, I started dating boys. And I dated boys for probably about 10 years. In fact, I ended up in a relationship with a man for about 10 years. And during that time, of course, I'm still presenting female to the outside world. And so when they looked at us together, they saw, well, there's a male and there's a female, therefore they're in a straight relationship. So I was considered straight by everyone until about the age of 30. And at that point, I started to become attracted to women. So I came out to my family as gay in 2000, or late 99, 2000. And so then at that point, I started to date women, but I still look like a woman at that point. So people then looked at me and said, well, she's a lesbian. So then for the next 11 years, I dated women. And then in 2011 is when I then came out again to my family as transgender. And I started my gender transition.
Now, only you could explain to us how it feels to come out twice. Which time was harder?
It was by far and away harder to come out as transgender because I always tell people I was really afraid to come out as gay even back in 2000. And it just was scary. You put yourself at a lot of risk. But when you come out as the thing about coming out as gay is you don't necessarily have to tell anyone who you don't want to tell that you're gay, right? So you don't have to go into your office and say, hey, I'm gay. No one's going to know you're gay. It's not like you're going to walk in one day not gay, and the next day they're going to know you're gay, right? But when you come out as transgender, and you then embark on any type of physical transformation, changing your body, changing your name, changing your pronouns that you want to be called by, that stuff is not something that can go without explanation to people. Like, you have to explain that. I felt like I needed to come out not just to my family and my friends and my job, but I mean to my gardener and to my, the guy who cleans my pool. I mean, everything. Because if you're addressing me or you're sending me a bill, I don't want you to use my birth name because I've changed my name. I don't want you to call me she because I go now by he and him. So coming out as trans was a lot scarier for me because the ripple effect, it was unending. It was so much more difficult.
Well, and I imagine that flows into your parents, your sister, everybody now having to refer to you as my son, my brother,
Right.
Everything changes. Well, I want you to stay with us, Decker. We're going to be going into a commercial break here shortly, and I have so many more questions. I'm sure our audience does as well, but I'll do the best to interpret those to you, because honestly, you have embarked on a journey that to some of us is still a bit unknown, only in the sense that we haven't lived it like you have. And so I appreciate you educating us on all of this and really more so the emotional part, not just the technical. So stay with us, Decker, okay? We'll be coming right back. And everybody listening, we're talking to Decker Moss, and we're talking about, his journey and being transgender and being an advocate and how important that is that we learn these details. This is the Living Full Out Show. We'll be coming right back after this commercial break.
Ahoy there, matey. How's the fishing this morning?
Shh! You'll scare the fish.
Oh, nonsense. Fishies love the safety pirate. Now tell me, I see you're wearing your life jacket, and that's mighty smart of you. But have you taken a boating safety course?
I have. Now, could you please leave?
So you know to stay alert by not mixing alcohol and boating, don't you?
I do.
But I bet you didn't know it's dangerous to speed on the water. Now, did you, Turbo?
Actually, I knew that.
Well, smarty pants. You seem to know it all, don't you?
Yep. Maybe even more than a safety pirate.
Watch your mouth, sailor!
When you're out on the water this year, make sure you're being safe. Learn the boating rules and watch out for other boaters.
And remember to boat smart. Boat safe.
A message from the National Safe Boating Council.
I want to change some things. I want the moms where I live to have childcare they can trust.
I want to make sure my little brother and his friends have a safe place to play.
I want to help more kids graduate from high school. Help more hardworking families learn how to budget and save.
I want more of my neighbors to have access to health care.
Want to make a difference? There are so many ways you can. Help create opportunities for everyone in your community.
I want to change what I see around here.
United Way is creating real, lasting change where you live by focusing on the building blocks of a better life: education, income, and health.
I just want to see more smiles on my sidewalks.
Reach out a hand to one and influence the condition of all. Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. For more, visit United Way at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a trusted life coach, Nancy will help you overcome setbacks and embrace all life has to offer. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Thank you for joining us. I am Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. Today we're talking about body image, but more specifically right now we're having an interview with Decker Moss, who is sharing with us about his journey and how he was, when he was a child, he was a female. He was a twin girl with his sister, and then over about 4 decades he transitioned, and now today he's a gentleman. He's a man, and his name is Decker, and he's fabulous. I just loved having him on the show, so welcome back, Decker.
Thanks so much.
You really are a dynamo, honestly. But but I want to go ahead and I have so many questions for you, but I want to complete your story before we go on to those other questions. So through your 30s, you're still trying to figure all this out, and obviously then you came out in your 40s as transgender. And what was the first stages for you? How does one even make that change?
Right.
Do you change your voice? Do you change your looks? What did you do first?
Right. Well, people who decide to transition and want to actually medically transition, which means changing, how you look through hormones or surgery, which not all trans people want that. But for me, I actually started with really the emotion of it, the sort of coming out to myself first and being able to sort of be okay with this idea of, I feel transgender. That's sort of your internal transition. So every trans person has to go through that. So I started there. And then from there, when I started to get kind of more a handle on that, I went ahead and moved forward and made some other decisions, including changing my name and some other things.
And what was the first physical change that you did?
The first physical change, well, just so one quick thing. So a lot of times with trans people don't necessarily, like I say, want to change anything physically about their body. And a lot of trans people don't like to be asked necessarily about their body. So it's a sensitive topic for a lot of people. And I'm very open and have been very open about it and have talked openly about my chest surgery that I had. I talked about it in my TED Talk because for me it was so vital to me being able to feel comfortable in my body. So if you're talking about body image, which you're talking about today, that was for me the single most important thing was to not have breasts anymore.
Okay.
So I made a decision. Actually, that was one of the first things I did to go ahead and have a surgery to make my chest look male.
Okay, and that makes sense because that's a huge defining feature of a female. Mm-hmm. And then from there, you did other steps to, over time, become more male, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did. I finally did eventually decide to, like I said, I chose to do my chest surgery first and really didn't tell anybody about it outside of my immediate family. I didn't tell my job about it. I didn't tell anyone about it. I went ahead and did it. And so that I could feel comfortable in my body. And then about 9 months later, I chose to legally change my name, my first name and my middle name, so that I had a name that better reflected how I felt about my gender. And then beyond that, I went on and decided to take hormones, cross-sex hormones. So in my case, it was testosterone, which physically changed my body to take on male sex characteristics like facial hair and more musculature and I lost fat in areas that women traditionally have fat and gained fat in other areas that men traditionally have. So I changed my physical body through hormones.
Okay, thank you for sharing that with us. Just so everybody has kind of an idea. Again, it's just your journey; it doesn't define everybody.
Yeah.
And what was that moment like for you when for the first time you were acknowledged as a male, just out in public, and they were like, "Hello, sir."
Right. Yeah. It's funny because it's not like flipping a switch. Like I wish that it had been. I wish that it had been like, tomorrow I'm going to have everyone call me sir and he. But it doesn't happen like that. It takes a lot of time. So I would have times when the first person would say sir to me or he to me, it's extraordinarily gratifying because it was really the first time in my life where strangers, so someone who I didn't ask to call me he or him, like a family member, a stranger that didn't know me, saying he or him to me was really, all of a sudden I felt like, okay, the outside world is starting to see the person that I've always seen myself to be. So it's a validation. that is incredibly important.
And what is that feeling that you're striving for? What are you striving to feel like in that moment?
In that moment for me, I just wanted to feel like myself. I wanted to feel normal, quote unquote normal. I don't mean normal in that it's normal to be it's not normal to be trans or normal, I mean just for me, the person that I always felt like I was just out of place in my body, that for me there was a normalness that I could then move on and live my life without the struggle.
The new normal, basically.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
the new normal. And I'm just curious, we hear all about Caitlin in the news.
Yeah.
And within your circle of spirit influence, and having taken a similar journey to his, what is your interpretation of that?
So just to correct
her. I'm sorry, her. Sorry.
Her.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
You know what? Thank you for doing that. And everybody, we have to always acknowledge it. And I told Decker before this interview,
it's so hard.
Stop me anytime. So so for her, for Caitlin, what are your thoughts?
So you're asking within my community, like within the LGBT community, for instance?
Yeah, within that community, the fact that she has changed as well and stepped out there and
sure.
Is a voice for that community. Does that resonate with you as well?
Yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Caitlin, for all the good things, I think the overarching that it's been a very, very good thing because she's been able to raise awareness to this issue, the fact that there are transgender people in the world, and reach an audience that never, ever, ever would have known about this or understood this or even attempted to think about this. People who saw her compete in the Olympics in '76, who live in some tiny little rural town, know her. So when someone like who has that much notoriety comes out, and she has younger people too through the Kardashian show, so she has a reach to this huge audience. So that's good. That helped propel this topic to the point where there's conversation about it in society, and conversation leads to change. So that's been the good. The harder part is that she has a very unusual story when it comes to transgender experience. She has obviously a lot of privilege and wealth. She has access to things like care, doctor care, medical care, surgeries, hormones. She lives in, she doesn't need to have a job. She's not in fear of losing her house, her job. A lot of the things that most trans people face when it comes to discrimination, she's immune to. So that part can have its downside because people may look at her story, and if that's the only story they're hearing, they think that's all trans experience, and it's not.
Thank you for sharing that and defining that for us, because I can see both sides now. I can feel that through your example. And can you define for us, obviously there's the L, the B, the G, the Q. What are the differences and how are they different? Because I feel like everybody gets kind of grouped together, but there is a difference.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, our community, when you talk about the LGBTQ community, people think of it as sort of all one and the same. And in fact, it's quite different. So for the L and the G and the B, that's lesbian, gay, and bisexual. And all of those things relate to sexual orientation. So when I talked a little bit earlier, sexual orientation is your sense of romantic or emotional attraction to another person. So whether you're heterosexual or bisexual or whatever, it's how you feel about someone else. So a lesbian is someone who identifies as a woman and is attracted to another woman. And a gay, typically gay, it can pertain to men or women, but if you're talking about gay men, it's a biological man attracted to another biological man. And then a bisexual is someone who could be attracted to whichever gender, right? So that's the LGB. And then the T is transgender. So transgender is anyone whose gender identity or how they feel about themselves in their head about their gender identity differs from their biological sex that was assigned to them at birth by the doctor. So I would be transgender because at birth, the doctor looked at my genitalia, marked an F on my birth certificate, but as I got older, I never identified as an F. I always identified as an M. So that's the LGBT. And being transgender doesn't have anything to do with your sexual orientation. So sometimes lumping it in with the L and the G and the B is tough because the L and G and B have a different set of issues and challenges than the T's. And then Q is just usually, it refers to whether you're questioning. So you could be questioning your sexuality or questioning your gender identity, or it could also stand for queer, which is sort of an all-encompassing term that a lot of people, especially younger people, may use in the place of something like lesbian, gay, or bisexual. They may just say, I'm queer because my sexual orientation or my gender identity isn't considered sort of something other than heterosexual.
Well, I really appreciate you breaking that down for us, just because I think to be more informed is helpful as we go along, and everybody's just trying to live their authentic life and be who they feel they are inside. And as we kind of close up this interview today, for all of us that are not in the transgender world, how can we be more supportive? What do we need to know about this process, this change?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what it comes down to is I don't even think it's a transgender issue. I think it's a humanity issue. I think people being able to be accepting of others. When someone shows you who they are, someone tells you who they are, it's really important to believe them. So even if you look at someone and you say, well, that person looks like a woman, they're telling me they're a man, my brain doesn't compute. Well, it's not really about your brain. It's about understanding that person revealing something to you and being able to believe them about that. And it really comes up a lot now in the debates around bathrooms, for instance, that people get very upset. And that's one of the things people can do, honestly, is to sort of let go of this fear around bathrooms, because it's really not an issue, as big of an issue as people think. It's just about common decency. It's about trans people simply trying to do whatever other human being does in a public bathroom, that they just need to go and pee. And it's important to sort of let them do that, because gendered spaces like bathrooms carry with them sort of this invisible stamp of acceptance. So if you want to be accepted, it's really important to be able to do that and let people know that.
Hey, Decker. Hey, Decker, can you hear me? I'm sorry, we're actually kind of running out of time here. I could talk to you for hours, but the thing is thank you for sharing that advice, because the thing is, you're 100% right. We just got to be more aware. So, Decker Moss, you are amazing. You are courageous, and I so adore you, and thank you for sharing all your story with us. Everybody, that was Decker Moss, and we're the Living Full Out show here, talking about body image and taking your questions in the next segment. Thank you, Decker. We'll be right back. Bye-bye.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
You remember that ball game we went to a couple years ago?
Sure.
And how you didn't have enough cash for 2 hot dogs, so you walked with me on your shoulders until we found an ATM? And then when we got back to our seats, we never saw the hot dog guy again.
Well, I don't remember all that.
Yeah, that was an awesome game.
You never know which moments will be the ones they'll remember forever, so take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 1-877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Medical mistakes claim tens of thousands of lives every year. The healthcare community is working on it, but you can help. When you communicate with your doctor, when you ask more questions, you reduce your risk of suffering a medical mistake. Doctors can't answer if you don't ask. Help reduce your risk. Questions are the answer. Learn the 10 questions you must ask. Visit www.ahrq.gov. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, and the Ad Council.
I'm getting a catcher's mitt.
I'm getting ice skates. I'm getting a devastating flood.
Adults are generous. We're even giving kids global warming, but we can still reduce greenhouse gas pollution. Go to fightglobalwarming.com. Brought to you by Environmental Defense, the Robertson Foundation, and the Ad Council.
The following commercial is sponsored by FeedThePig.org, an organization devoted to helping you save money. We will not entice you with messages like
lowest prices in town, dealer approved, certified pre-owned,
no obligation consultation,
nor will we brag about our
huge selection, enormous variety,
one-stop shopping,
everything under one roof.
or promise.
Prices reduced up to 75%.
A sale like this can't go on forever.
Factory liquidation.
Financing options available.
We will offer no contingencies like
See store for details.
Prices and participation may vary.
Legal exclusions apply.
No purchase necessary.
or try to convince you that our product will give you
Leaner, tighter abs in minutes.
Perfect smile. Porcelain veneers.
Freedom from those painful, embarrassing bunions.
because we simply want to help you spend smarter and save better. Log on to feedthepig.org. Find the benefits of saving for every stage of life. Brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Finding our way to be secure with our body image is not something that happens in a snap. We have to feel it through. It is a life journey. But as we see people in our lives struggling with their body image, or even if we face that same dilemma ourselves, it's just about loving yourself, loving those around you, and really cherishing who we are authentically inside. That is how body image will shine.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a certified life coach, Nancy can help you to overcome challenges and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
All right, here we are, last segment of the show. I cannot believe it. Always goes so fast, but I want to thank Decker Moss. Honestly, that was a great interview. And now we're taking your calls again, so feel free to call in at 800-333-0001. Today we're talking about body image and just how important being more aware, being more loving of not just others but ourselves is. Hearing Decker's story just really hit a home to me, because even in my own life, being legally blind and trying to figure out who I was in the world, it just takes time. And so wherever you are in your life, just be patient with yourself and let your feelings unfold and learn how to take action. And I say learn because you want to look at others around you who are perhaps dealing with the same dilemmas and find out, you know, what were the pros and cons of different changes they made? What do they wish they had done differently? What are they proud of that they did? When we can look at each other and be able to take these walks together, that's when we're able to live full out. That's when we're able to embrace who we want to be inside and out. And for me, going legally blind, I had to figure out what I wanted to be and look like and come across to others. I remember times when I knew I couldn't see well, and this is way back when I was in real estate, and I didn't drive. I had to give up driving, and I would take a bus to a house that I was showing, and then my clients would come in their BMWs and their Mercedes and so forth, but I would get there early and walk the house and just make sure I knew the ins and outs of what I wanted to show them. And for some reason, I remember thinking the fact that I didn't see so well, that would have been maybe a flaw, maybe a reason for why they would say, different realtor. And that was so silly when I think about it, because I was an excellent negotiator, very personable, and knew my stuff. But for some reason, I always thought back in those days, if they knew that I was legally blind, if they knew I couldn't see well, for some reason they wouldn't want to work with me. And I think that in life, whatever challenge we're dealing with, that can oftentimes creep into our minds. And that's that self-talk, that scary, scary self-talk that you want to blow away out of your mind, because it's not real. The truth was, people worked with me. They got great deals. Everybody was happy. I had to come to terms with my own security, my own confidence inside. So there's my 2 cents to you on that, because, again, your walk, my walk may be different, but yet they're similar in our goals and desires to feel free, to feel at peace. We're going to go to the lines again and welcome a caller. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for calling in. How can I help you today?
So last Christmas I gave my stepfather adoption papers. And I'm still close to my biological father's family. My biological father I have nothing to do with, and neither does his family. but I'm concerned with how to tell his family that I'm being adopted.
So let me just make sure. So you are close to your biological father, or you're not?
I am not.
You are not.
Requested that he leave me and the rest of my family alone.
Got you. But you are close to his family?
Yes.
Okay. So the thing is, first of all, I'm proud of you for taking that step, because while we don't choose our parents, we don't choose our gender, based upon our last guess. We don't, some things in life we can't choose. As we go along and we develop who we are, where our heart is, where our love is, where we want to put our attention, that's taking control in your life, and you did that. So first of all, I'm very proud of you for doing that, and that's not a decision that everybody would do, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that would do it if they had that same courage. I think the first place you want to start is you just want to be honest. And a lot of times we build up like a balloon with helium in it. We build up this big worries and emotions and anxieties because we get so worried about what we think people are going to say and how they're going to feel about us, and will they still like us, will they still love us, will they reject me, and all of that, like helium, goes into a balloon and makes that balloon bigger than it needs to be. Okay? These are people that support you and love you no matter what, and they've loved you all of this time. So And they know that you don't have a relationship with your father, right? They're aware of that, right?
Yes, so they don't have a relationship with him either.
There you go. That's even better. No, not better in the sense that no one has a relationship with him. But what I mean by that is, they want you to be loved. They want you to have parental figures that you can feel proud of. And so I think you have to trust them a little bit more to know that when you tell them this news, they're going to be happy for you. They're not going to be disappointed. They're not going to be nervous. They're not going to be anything. What outcome do you think is going to happen when you tell them?
I'm sure it'll turn out fine. I'm really worried that my grandfather, because I'm the last one in our family with our last name. And I'm worried that he's going to feel like I'm cutting out that entire family history that comes with it.
Now, do you know for sure that the last name is something that is really important to him that you carry on? Has he told you this?
No, but I've met people who that is a big thing for them.
Okay, but see, you met people, but that isn't something your grandfather said. So here's a life lesson in general. We have to be careful to assume or predict what we think people are going to say, because you're putting that on your grandfather that you think he's going to say something or be disappointed, when in all actuality, he may just scoop you up in a hug and be like, you know what, I get it. And then you spent all this time worrying for no reason. Plus, last names change all the time. When people get married, they change their last name. And do their families reject them and turn away from them? No. Right? I mean, people change their first names. I have a good friend who was a Kristen, and now she's a Christina, and then she changed it again to a Tina, and believe it or not, today she's Sammy. Go figure. But she legally changed it to Sammy. She just never found the right fit. Christina, Tina, it never worked for her. So now she's Sammy and she feels whole. So the thing is, don't be so wrapped up in this name change. I really believe with everything in me, and I don't even know your family, but I'm just feeling this, that he's going to love you no matter what. And he's going to be proud of you for doing that. And at the other thing I want to tell you too is, remember that, and I love my grandfather too. He's 99. I love him. I think your grandfather's probably pretty amazing as well. But you're living your life for you. You're not living your life for your grandfather. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's super sweet, and it says so much of who you are that you're emotionally concerned about your grandfather. And I think that he's going to surprise you. He's going to be happy for you. Sure, he wishes that everybody carried on the name, but the reality is, he's been around a long time. He knows that names change, and so I would be just, just move forward with it.
Okay.
Is it
Thank you so
okay?
much.
And honestly, one other thing, you are a perfect example of living full out. I want to let you know, by the way, because again, with that courage and with doing something that actually means something to you, and there's this concept like a pie, like a whole pie of life, right? One sliver of the pie is personal, one might be career, one might be relationships, another piece of the pie is self. By making this name change, by being adopted by your stepfather, if that's what's going to make you feel secure, feel whole, feel as though you're right where you need to be in life, then that's what you should do. Okay?
All right.
All right. Thank you for calling in.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that is an excellent question. Honestly, she is someone that I feel is going to go on and look back at that name change and think, wow, I'm so proud that I did that, and I can't believe I waited so long. It's just a name, everybody. The thing is you want to feel confident inside. It doesn't matter if you change your name, if you change your gender, if you change your hair color, if you lose weight, gain weight, whatever. It's just about taking the steps in life so that you feel good about who you are, that you're authentically living your life the way you want. And that is body image, but it's also our mental stability. It's our heart, it's our soul, it's everything. So to live full out is not a snap, like I said earlier. It's a journey. It's about feeling it through. So I want everybody to take some time today and figure out, in regards to your body image, what do you want that to be? Who do you want to evolve to be? Now, maybe you might say to yourself, you know what, Nancy, I am perfect. I like exactly who I am. I don't want to change one bit. If that's the case, awesome. Now, what I do know about humans is that we're always looking to be better. We're always looking to strive to evolve and grow. That's just the way we want things to be. So embrace how you feel. Don't feel bad about it. But you want to consider action steps that you can take to achieve that goal and dream. So if you're in the case of Decker Moss, our inspirational guest, and you're dealing with where you're not feeling comfortable in your gender, you might need to consider making that adjustment. If you're dealing with weight and you're feeling just, I'm just underweight, I'm overweight, I just want to be different, take action. That's how you're going to get to where you want to be. And for everybody who called in today, most of all, I want to say thank you, because we learned from you. We learn from the questions you ask, and hopefully I give advice that also motivates and inspires. I want to thank our entire Living Full Out team who puts the show together, and we'll be coming back on next week with more inspirational guests, taking more of your calls. But most of all, live your life full out. Go out there, do something great today. Smile, have fun, and thank you for listening. We'll be back.